and welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Wednesday, June 18th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers. Today on the show, kind of a rough night for pitching, not all around, but just some bad ones tonight. We got Cam Smith's breakout game, Rafi Devers' Giants debut, and much more. But Chris, congrats to you and your Florida Panthers.
Hey.
Back-to-back, man. Dynasty?
It's a dynasty. Sunrise, Florida, Titletown, USA, baby. They're going crazy at the Grand Lux Cafe. They're tipping over. They're lighting couches on fire on Sunrise Boulevard. It's the most boring suburb in America where the Panthers have their arena. It's very funny to me.
I'm pretty sure that's where Scott took me out for dinner when we met up in Florida.
Yeah, you gotta. They're banging pots and pans outside of the Flanagans on Flamingo Road.
Flanagan's, I also went to.
Oh, Flanagan's.
Not Tino's recommendation. It was awesome.
It's great.
I loved it.
The real Stanley Cup is the green plastic Flanagan's cup that every single person in South Florida has in their cupboard somewhere.
Yes. So congrats to you. Honestly, I don't know a lick about hockey. It's like the only sport I've never been able to get into. I never played it. So maybe that's part of it, but I saw that they won. So congrats to you, Chris. Let's jump in.
Can you believe it? Wow.
All right, let's get into players of the night. And Chris, I think that game finally went final here. Cam Smith, breakout game.
Cam Smith, yeah. 2 home runs, first home runs in, I think it was almost exactly 2 months for Cam Smith. He went 4 for 5, 3 RBI, a double, 4 hard hit balls. And I do wonder if it's just taking him a little while to catch up. You know, like he came out of the gates and really struggled. Then in May, he started hitting for a really high batting average, but he was sacrificing power for it. And then maybe this is what it starts to look like when the game slows down and, you know, he starts to figure it out. Look, it's one game. He hadn't had many multi-hit games in the last couple of weeks before this, but this is a big game. And because Cam Smith is such a talented young player with so much upside, I think it's worth treating it as if this is the start of him figuring it out, just because if it is, this is your last chance to get him. And I think, you know, this was someone, number 8 pick in last year's draft, only played 32 games as a professional before making his major league debut. A slow start would make sense. So I'm willing to treat this as if it's the start of a breakout, just because if it is, it could be huge.
If you look at over his last 30 games for Cam Smith, he is batting .308 now with 2 home runs because of tonight. 15 RBI, 14 runs, 2 steals, and in 813 OPS. So he has been hitting well. He's been hitting the ball hard. I mean, during that stretch, it is a 91.9 average exit velocity. The problem for Cam Smith is a lot of it is line drives and ground balls. So launch angle, and I think we heard that. I think someone made the comp of like Alec Boehm coming into the season. And so launch angle is something that he's going to have to work on here. But man, if he can ever tap into any type of pull side playing his home games in Houston, obviously there is a lot of potential there. I did see this tweet from Chandler Rome, who covers the Astros. Cam Smith is the 4th youngest player in Astros history to have a 4-hit, 2-homer game. The 3 who were younger, Carlos Correa, Joe Morgan, and Rusty Staub. So huge game there for Cam Smith, who is 56% rostered, has third base and outfield eligibility. Do you think a game like this requires a must-add tag for Cam Smith?
Yeah, I think so. Look, there are leagues like Jerks and Profar is coming back in 2 weeks. He's going to be the number 2 hitter for the Braves, and he's only 28% rostered. I think it's likelier that Jerks and Profar is more useful than Cam Smith. So if they're both available and you're looking for an upside play, I might prioritize Jerks and Profar. But I think Cam Smith, it's entirely possible that he just takes off and becomes a star. Like we've thought that was within the realm of possibility for him all along, and like I said, I think you should treat this as if it's the breakout, because if it's not, whatever. Most players you pick up on June 18th aren't going to be useful for the whole season. He has the potential to be not just useful, but must start. So I would treat it as if he's a must-add player right now.
And what's especially interesting about it, if you think back to last year, this is around the time that Jackson Merrill and Jackson Churio really started to take off as well. And look, I'm not sure Cam Smith is the same level prospect as those guys, but he was a highly regarded prospect coming into the season. So perhaps he did just take some time here. I think an interesting either or here is Addison Barger, who's also been hitting well, and a fun way for the Blue Jays to walk it off here on Tuesday night. Bo Bichette comes up, game-tying home run in the 9th inning. Boom, back-to-back with Addison Barger, who walked it off here, and he's hitting .264, 8 home runs, .819 OPS, hitting the ball hard. Expected stats look good. Also right around 60% rostered. So, I mean, that might just be a decision straight up. So who would you rather have, Chris? Addison Barger or Cam Smith?
I'd rather have Cam Smith. I think he's the more talented player. There's less of a platoon concern there. I think it's more likely we've already seen the best of Addison Barger, and I don't think that's the case with Cam Smith.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. And I know that Cam Smith was the better prospect, but Barger's data is so good, man. 93.5 average exit velocity, barrel rate is great, 285 XBA, 520 X slug. I would go with Barger, but I totally understand what you're saying, that this might be your last chance to go ahead and grab Cam Smith. So
Barger's got to be more rostered already, right?
No, he's right around 60%.
Okay, that's surprising.
Yeah, so they're both, in a similar range, and you might have to make that decision. So I say Barger, Chris says Cam Smith. If you're listening, go with your heart, or whoever you like more on the podcast.
Just ask Scott.
Yeah, there you go. Go tweet at him. Let's talk about my players of the night. I keep doing this. I'm kind of cheating, but I'm just going to go with all the Rockies and get it out of the way because it was a big game, much needed. They blasted 7 home runs as a team on the road, no less here. And just going to run down the line. Hunter Goodman, we keep talking about him. 1 for 5 with his 14th home run. Now has 7 home runs in June, hitting .285, 14 homers, 848 OPS on the season. I'm going to update the rankings on Wednesday, trying to figure out how high to get Hunter Goodman in the catcher rankings. It's an interesting talking point. I could definitely move him ahead of Logan O'Hoppe, but then you get
he's gotten cold,
Herrera, Yainer Diaz, Salvador Perez. Like, are you ready to move Goodman ahead of any of those names?
Not really. No, I don't think so. I understand if you want to. I understand if you have him ahead of Agustin Ramirez as well. I think that's perfectly reasonable. I haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to move Goodman up to 9th at least. There's an argument for him to be higher, but obviously being a top 10 catcher in this current environment is a pretty good thing right now. Yeah. Let's talk about Ryan McMahon, who went 2 for 4 with a walk in his 11th home run and got off to a very slow start since the beginning of May. 42 games. He is hitting .274 with 9 home runs, 22 runs, 20 RBI, and an OPS around 900. Overall, Ryan McMahon has a 94.7 average exit velocity. He is crushing the ball. He's down to 52% rostered. I don't think he really matters in points leagues, Chris, just because he strikes out so much. It's like a 30% strikeout rate. But
yeah,
if he was dropped in any roto leagues for sure, but even category leagues where you could stream him when he's at home, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think fine is the word for Ryan McMahon. We've been doing this long enough with him where he has these stretches where he looks really good. It always ends up being a low to mid 700s OPS bat. It always ends up being 20 to 23 home runs. It's actually not even 20 to 23. It's been exactly 20 or 23 4 straight years now for Ryan McMahon. So that is one where, yes, he's hitting the ball hard. I don't know how much I care about that just because the track record's so long for Ryan McMahon. Mm-hmm. I think he is what he is.
Yeah, he just got off to such a slow start that if he gets the numbers to where they should be and where they usually are, that means he's probably going to be pretty good the rest of the way to get those numbers to where they should be. Again, he's 52% rostered. I would very clearly take Cam Smith over him. I would take Addison Barger. But if those guys are gone, you're in a categories league, I would take a look at Ryan McMahon. Thairo Estrada is on the board with his first home run of the season, and he's been hitting well lately. He's up to a 288 batting average. Problem here, he left after getting hit by a pitch on his fingers. So sucks because the timing not so great here. Again, he was, hitting well, picking things up. 17% rostered. Deeper league name, I think you can look at leagues with middle infield spots. Again, he's, kind of play him in the right matchups when he's at home, but also got to make sure he's healthy after getting hit by that pitch. Welcome back to Michael Toglia, who returned on Monday. He went 3 for 5 with a double dong here, 3 RBI, and he was hitting well in the minors. And I just want to remind people of what Michael Toglia is capable of. Last year, from June 1st on, he hit 21 home runs with 10 steals and an 800 OPS. So there still is some upside here. He's very streaky. There's lots of strikeouts, 17% rostered. But Chris, if he was dropped in like a 15-team roto league, which is pretty likely, I'd probably take a second look here at Michael Toglia.
Look, I was wrong on Michael Toglia coming into the season. I thought he was going to have a breakout season. He had a 358 expected WOBA last year and underperformed it by one of the biggest margins we've ever seen from a Rocky. The upside is clearly here. I think he could hit 245 with a 30 homer pace the rest of the way. Of course, I thought that coming into the season, and it didn't happen. So I think he's worth adding. I did add him in one league on Sunday night, and it's possible that he's just a super streaky hitter or a super volatile hitter. And when he's not hot, he is incredibly cold. But when he's hot, he gets really hot. So I'm willing to buy in.
Yeah, at least in the deeper leagues. Anything shallower than a 15-teamer, NL only leagues, no, we need to see a lot more. But, in leagues that deep, you're almost looking for anyone who has a pulse. So especially someone who has an ounce of upside. Yeah, I would have some interest in Toglia just in those deeper formats. And in even deeper leagues, Mickey Moniak is picking things up. We talked about him yesterday. 1 for 4 with a sock and a shoe in this game. Last 7, he's hitting .429 with 4 homers and a stolen base. I know he hasn't been playing every day, but these are the Rockies we're talking about. They need talent on the field, and Mickey Moniak is producing. So I think he's going to get a chance to play here. Very, very deep league stuff. NL only 15-team roto leagues with 5 outfielders. Mickey Moniak, just a name to look at there as well. Before we hit our first break, reminder to sign up for the FBT newsletter if you haven't already. If you're watching on YouTube, you can scan the QR code. That will take you right to the website where you can sign up for free. Chris, give people sell it a little bit. What do you got going on? What should people expect from the FBT newsletter?
Oh, well, every single day you get about 3,000 to 4,000 words sent to you, recapping the previous day, looking at the top waiver wire targets, the biggest standouts, all the news you need to know. Sometimes I'll throw in just kind of a random feature if it's a slow day, something I've been batting around. So tomorrow it's, just making the case for why Jurickson Profar is a must-add player. He made his rehab debut on Tuesday. He's going to hit second for the Braves on July 2nd. And I had some concerns coming into the season, or after the suspension, that if they knew he wasn't going to be there for the postseason, would they really play him every day? Well, they're 7 games under 500 right now. They just need to get to the playoffs before they worry about that. And their left fielders have like a 500 OPS combined. So Jurickson Profar is going to play every single day at the top of what should be a pretty good lineup. I think he needs to be basically universally rostered.
All right. And big thanks to those watching live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube as well. Let's take a break and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball Today, news and notes. And in Rafael Devers' introductory press conference with the Giants, he said he is willing to play defensively wherever they want him to, which is objectively hilarious, Chris. After declining to play first base with the Red Sox, he was in the lineup as the DH, batting third in his Giants debut. He went 2 for 5 with an RBI double, but apparently will field ground balls at first base, which opens up the possibility of playing there at some point this season, which would be welcome. I don't really want Devers to be util only for fantasy next season. So get us those 20 games at first base if you can.
Yeah, and I've seen people who, I don't know, are pretending like they're confused about this. Like, oh, he wasn't willing to do it for the Red Sox. And it's like, yeah, he wasn't willing to do it for the Red Sox. He made that perfectly clear. That I went back and found multiple instances of Alex Cora saying one thing. In the offseason, it was, he's our third baseman. I think the talk about moving him has been overblown. We have no plans of moving him. And then they sign Alex Bregman and immediately want him to move. And then the day Tristan Casas got hurt, Alex Cora went out and said, we have no plans to ask him to play first base. I don't know why we would even ask him. He's gotten comfortable. Why would we do that? And the next day, Craig Breslow asks him to play first base. So, like, I think it was, I will not play the field for you, the Boston Red Sox, after the way they handled the situation. And look, man, maybe Craig Breslow will end up being a very good president of baseball operations or whatever title he has. Maybe he's got a really great eye for talent. I don't know. He's probably a smart dude. I think he has a lot of work to do on the managing people part of this. And I think he clearly mishandled this situation. And I am not at all surprised that Rafael Devers is willing to switch positions for a team that actually wants him. The Red Sox just didn't seem like they wanted him. And I think that's the bigger problem.
Yeah. And I know some people were asking about Giants prospect Bryce Eldridge. What's going to happen there? Giants brass already came out and said that he's going to continue to focus on first base as well. And that's something they've already talked to Rafael Devers about. So perhaps in the future, it's a situation where, if Eldridge makes it and he's a legit major league player, maybe they share first base and DH, something like that. But it does sound like Eldridge will continue to focus on first base.
Communication. Who knew?
Yeah, it's key. It's vital. Tyler Glasnow threw 2 innings and about 40 pitches in a live batting practice on Tuesday. He's slowly working his way back. Will Vest passed all tests and has been declared ready to pitch. He suffered a finger injury on Sunday, but seems all good for now. Luke Weaver threw a 20-pitch live batting practice on Tuesday, his first time facing hitters since suffering that hamstring injury. Will be interesting to see who the closer is for the Yankees once Luke Weaver is back. You have referenced this a few times already, Chris, but Jurickson Profar will begin a rehab assignment with AAA on Tuesday, which, is already in the past. So I don't know why I said it like that.
He went 2 for 4 with a walk, I believe.
He has started a rehab assignment, currently suspended for PEDs, but is eligible to return on July 2nd. 28% rostered is Jurickson Profar. Is he someone you would call a must-add, all formats, even 3 outfielder leagues?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, he certainly was last year. He may not be that good again, but I think the upside's absolutely there. I mean, I saw like Chase Burns is already 60% rostered. It's the same situation, right? Like you're just stashing someone with the hope that they will figure it out. Nick Kurtz, Jack Caglione, those guys were getting up to like 60, 70% rostered. I think Jurickson Profar at least has to be at that range. And I'd say 100. Yeah.
You might have answered this earlier, but would you rather pick up Cam Smith or stash Profar?
Because Profar's roster rate is low right now, and it's not like he's not going to have a big game at the major league level that convinces everyone to add him. So I think you can make Smith more of a priority, but I think Profar has, well, certainly a higher floor. So yeah, I think it's close, but I would prioritize Smith.
These are the most added outfielders right now. Evan Carter's at the top. Would you take Profar over Carter?
I think I would, yeah.
What about Joe Adell?
Yes.
Jeff McNeil?
McNeil does have second base eligibility, but I'd still go Profar.
You love Jeff McNeil. I love that.
He's been really good for like almost a year now.
Yeah, he has. And Willie Castro, who does have an OPS over 1050. We'll talk about that in just a second.
He is eligible everywhere, right? Like 4 different eligibilities.
Second, third, shortstop, outfield.
Yeah. That's probably team dependent, but I think Profar's a better player.
Yeah. Let me address this now. So Fantasy Feud last night, there is a bit of a scandal involved here because I asked you guys for players with an OPS over 1050 in the month of June. You said Willie Castro. Scott said Ronald Acuna. I said no to both of those. It turns out that was a lie because, and I don't know why, but I was using MLB.com to look at stats, leaders in June, and their qualifications must be different because when I looked at Fangraphs, Acuna and Willie Castro were both qualified and had OPSs over 1050. So I apologize.
I clearly, I think what this means is that I actually won.
There you go. Double or nothing, triple or nothing. It goes to Chris. Emmett Sheehan will return and start Wednesday against the Padres in 11 1/3 innings in the minors this season. It was a 3.97 ERA, 0.97 whip, 21 strikeouts to 1 walk with a 23% swinging strike rate. Incredibly small sample size. Want to get that out of the way. But this is someone who had sleeper appeal a couple of years ago. 24% rostered. What size leagues, if any, Chris, would you be looking to add Emmett Sheehan?
I think 12-team roto leagues, it's okay to add him. And I will say it was especially worth adding him this week before he debuted. And you would still potentially have that opportunity because if your lineup locks for the week, you can stash him in an IL spot for this week, get a look at him this week when he makes his debut, and then decide whether you want to activate him next week or not. It's tougher to say that in a daily transactions league, but yeah, I think it's worth taking a shot. I don't expect Emmett Sheehan to go 6 innings tomorrow or anytime soon, really, because it's the Dodgers and he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. But the stuff is really good. It's been there on the minor league rehab assignment. He's averaging like 96.4 with his fastball is actually up from 2023. So there's plenty of upside here. It's just, the floor is in the basement here.
Yeah. And in his final rehab start, he threw 63 pitches. So I would expect 65 to 70, something like that. I don't think the Dodgers will push him past 70 pitches here on Wednesday. Again, that's Emmett Sheehan. AJ Puck will visit Dr. Neil Elatraj after experiencing more left elbow discomfort. Max Scherzer is aiming to throw 70 to 75 pitches in his second rehab start at AAA on Wednesday. If all goes well, his next start would come with the Blue Jays. Tyler McGill was placed on the IL with a right elbow sprain, and I know Sean Manaea is getting close, so he could be a fill-in as soon as next week, I feel like, for the Mets. Frankie Montas has been a disaster on his rehab assignment. So,
and they were going to be working on his mechanics anyway, so I'm not surprised that there's been some shakiness there.
Mm-hmm. Sean Manaea 66% rostered, so still out there in some leagues.
Yeah, no, I think Sean Manaea is a very fine stash.
Gabriel Moreno was scratched from the lineup due to right hand soreness. Luis Gil is scheduled to throw against batters on Saturday, his first time doing so since suffering the lat injury. They're hoping that he returns after the All-Star break. Bryson Stott was back in the lineup after hyperextending his elbow on Monday. Trevor Rogers has been added to the Orioles taxi squad and is expected to start Wednesday against the Rays. The numbers in the minors this season have been terrible, but he did make one start with the Orioles earlier this season, and he pitched really well. 6 1/3 shutout with 5 strikeouts. So I don't think you should add Trevor Rogers anywhere outside of AL only leagues, but it's a name to watch. And Adam Mazur, who I still wish his name was Adam Mazur. Would be much better, but it's Adam Mazur. He is expected to start to make a start with the Marlins at some point this week. And in the minors, he's been okay this season. 3.62 ERA, 122 WHIP, 8.3 K per 9. He's 1% rostered, similar to Rogers. NL only league, sure. Name to watch, but let's see where it goes from here. Let's take a look at some waiver wire hitters outside of the ones we already talked about. And Addison Barger, we already mentioned him. Xavier Edwards with his first stolen base since returning from the IL. He went 3 for 5 with his 12th steal. He's hitting 396 since returning. But Chris, we need more steals. Yes. I mean, he doesn't really provide anything else. This is his first start in 14 games since coming back. He also has 2 caught stealing. So, I mean, he's tried. but hasn't been very successful. 69% rostered for Xavier Edwards. That kind of sounds right.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to roster him in a points league, and he's on pace for like 75 runs, and he's been batting leadoff pretty much all season. That's really bad. That's, by the way, that's just the 56 games he's played. That's not like the overall pace. That's giving him the benefit of the doubt for the games he's played. He has 25 runs in 56 games. And the problem with Xavier Edwards is he stole 31 bases in 35 attempts last year, and he's been a good base stealer in the minors. He is not very fast.
I was just looking at his sprint speed. I can't believe how low it is.
Well, it was only 78th percentile last year, which is obviously better than it is now. It's 62nd percentile, but like he has not had elite speed, and you see that on defense, especially. He's a really poor defender at shortstop. So like he needs to be a lot better as a base stealer to really matter for fantasy. The batting average is good. It's kind of like a 1.5 category profile right now. Like if he's a 35 stolen base guy, like his pace, okay, that's fine, but it's not particularly impactful anymore when he doesn't do anything else. So I don't think he needs to be any more rostered than he currently is.
Let's move over to Alec Burleson, who has been hitting well, 3 for 5 with his 6th home run and 2 RBI. Last 26 games, he's hitting .359, 4 homers, an OPS over 900, exit velocity 91.6 miles per hour during that time. And he has started every game except one since May 30th. So I don't know how Scott did this yesterday. I'm going to have to ask him. I don't know how to see quickly how many lefties he's faced, like in a time period. But I mean, if you know how to look it up, go for it. But Burleson has played every game except one since May 30th. So he's either playing against some lefties or they have faced no lefties recently. And even with that, Burleson's been hitting really well. So 57% rostered. It's tough, Chris, because I think this profile plays well in a points league, but we really kind of need assurance that he's going to play every day for him to matter in that format.
Yeah, he has started 7 games against lefties all season.
He's 9 for 30, batting 300 against lefties for what it's worth. So perhaps they're gaining confidence in using him.
Maybe. They've had a few injuries lately. Newbar had missed a couple days, right? Jordan Walker was on the IL, so maybe that was clearing up some opportunities. But yeah, he's only started 7 of 25 against lefties overall. So maybe those 7 have come lately. I don't know how to check that. My guess is he's just not really playing a ton against lefties, and it's just the schedule's worked out in his favor so far.
Yeah. I like the skill set here, man. I made this comp in the offseason. He kind of reminds me of Josh Naylor. I don't think there's as much power, but just how much contact he makes. And again, his average exit velocity is 91 miles per hour. If he ever optimized the launch angle a little bit, like, we just saw a 21 homer, 9 steal season out of him last year. So I still like the skill set. 57% rostered. I think that's probably fine for now for Burleson. But I mean, if we start to see him play against lefties and play every day, then I think, maybe he's a name that can matter in points leagues as well. Javier Baez continues his renaissance season, 3 for 4 with a double dong. And so far in June, he's hitting .340 with a .937 OPS. He's third base, shortstop, and outfield eligible. Problem here is he still sits out some games every now and then, Chris. This kind of feels like a better story for real life than it is for fantasy, Javier Baez.
Yeah. There was a really good week in there where he was doing a lot, but maybe it was 2 weeks, but it had been pretty cold since then. I don't think there's much reason to buy into it. The underlying numbers don't really back it up. It's a great story, but not something you really need to buy into for fantasy.
What about Luis Rengifo, who's picking things up? 2 for 4 with a run and RBI. Last 7 games, he's hitting .346, 2 homers, 1 steal, .923 OPS, and mentioned him yesterday as one of the biggest underachievers, according to expected stats so far this season. He was really good last year. Wouldn't surprise me if he kind of takes off here 22% rostered, second and third base eligible. Kind of a deep league name here, but Rengifo is someone, I think he was like a top 175 pick in all drafts. So if he was dropped, would you look back at Luis Rengifo?
The thing that's really tough about Rengifo is last year was a big outlier, both in terms of batting average and steals. He had 24 steals on 31 attempts. He had 300. He's a 250 hitter for his career and like a 65% stolen base guy. And he's pretty slow. 38th percentile in sprint speed this year. It was 37th percentile last year. And he hasn't really been running. So I think he can be useful, Luis Rengifo, like that 275 batting average. Okay, that can be pretty useful. Maybe he pushes it to 280. I just don't know if he's going to do a lot else,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like he has good like raw power.
Yeah.
The biggest thing going for him last year was that Ron Washington was just so aggressive on the base paths. Not he himself, because I don't think Ron Washington is very fast at this point in his life, but the team was aggressive. And I did want to quickly pull up where they rank. I feel like they haven't stolen many bases this season.
Yeah, I don't think that it doesn't feel like, because like Adele's pace has been down. It doesn't feel like we're getting a ton from, we're not getting a ton from Rengifo. Neto has been running a decent amount.
Wow, the Angels are 29th in steals this season.
This is basically just Neto.
And last year they were 12th. Okay, I thought they were better, but I mean, still 12th. They had 133 steals as a team last year. Everybody had the green light. This year they're second to last. It's still the same manager, so kind of surprising that they haven't been as aggressive so far this season. Some names in the deepest of leagues. Wencel Perez has quietly been solid for the Tigers. 2 for 4 with his 5th homer. He has homered in back-to-back games. He's hitting .316. He has an OPS over 1,000. And Dylan Carlson, who is now on the Orioles, is he a thing? I don't know. 3 for 4 with his 2nd steal. He's played almost every day since May 24th, which is a 21-game span, where he's hitting .333 with 4 homers, 2 steals, and OPS over 900. Chris, do either of these matter in deeper leagues? Wencel Perez and Dylan Carlson.
So I'll admit I have not looked at Dylan Carlson. The underlying numbers don't really suggest that there's much going on here. Even like the last 50 plate appearances, the xWOBA is 341. Okay, that's useful, but when your hot streak is like a slightly above average hitter, that's not really, I think, worth getting excited about. Perez is potentially really interesting. His quality of contact metrics are phenomenal. 91.2 mile per hour average exit velocity, expected batting average 332, X slug 588. Like, the expected stats suggest Wencel Perez is one of the best hitters in baseball right now. He had a 291 xWOBA last year. That's 115 points lower than his current one in a much larger sample size. He was not an especially special player in the minors. I think Wencel Perez is just hot, and it's not really worth chasing. If you're the type of person who wants to play the hot hand, his is sizzling right now. That's the best I can say right now, though.
Yeah, and he's just a name for deeper leagues. I will point out the pulled air percentage for Wencel Perez, 36%.
Yeah.
So even if you don't fully buy into the quality of contact, him keeping that up, I mean, if he's pulling the ball in the air that much, he might be able to make it work. All right, let's take our final break. When we return, we'll talk some waiver wire pitchers, some rough pitcher outings, and a couple other things. We'll do all of that right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's take a look at waiver wire pitchers. The first name in the shallowest of leagues, Will Warren, 77% rostered. And he had an interesting start against the Angels. It was a quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs, with a career-high 11 strikeouts, had 14 whiffs on 93 pitches. Obviously, it's a great matchup here against the Angels. They strike out a lot. The ERA and whip just remain kind of untenable here, Chris, but strikeouts and the underlying numbers, like, everything seems to love Will Warren. I don't know if it's all going to come together. Like, maybe at some point, but I don't know. He's still so inconsistent this early in his career.
Well, and the problem is that's kind of been the Will Warren problem the last couple of years, even in the minors. He had a 5.91 ERA in 2024. I know pitching in the International League is not easy anymore. It's become a really tough place to pitch, but it's been a long time since Will Warren has had a low ERA. You got to go back to 2023. So I like this skill set. I think there's some interesting stuff going on. The underlying numbers are much better, and I think Will Warren is certainly a hold. At 77% rostered, I think you just hold him. It's a 2-start week. You probably added him. I would guess he was lower than that before this week. Hang on to him. See if he can start to turn it around. But the inflated ERA is, tough to stomach right now.
Are you buying into any of these three? Ben Brown with an okay start against the Brewers, 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. The whiffs were down in this one. Michael Soroka, a quality start against the Rockies. Chris, add another one to the checklist. Quality start against the Rockies. 6 innings, 3 runs with a season high 9 strikeouts for Soroka. And Slade Ciccone, a solid outing at the Giants. 5 innings, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, 14 whiffs on 82 pitches. Continues to do some interesting things here with Slade Ciccone. Any interest in him, Michael Soroka, or Ben Brown?
I think Ben Brown and Michael Soroka are very similar. Really
They only have 2 pitches.
really good breaking ball, and they have both very rarely thrown a new kick change. I think they both in the last 2 weeks have introduced a kick change, and that's worth watching, but it has not been a particularly good pitch for either of them yet. So that's the one thing that is holding them back. They've both got an elite breaking ball, though. Michael Soroka's slurve has been really good. I just don't know if that's enough. And both are right around 40 to 50% rostered. I don't think that needs to be higher. I will say Soroka, you don't want to start him against the Dodgers later this week. He does get the Angels next week. I think that could be pretty useful. I think Soroka as a streamer for next week is pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right, and just wanted to mention Kyle Hendricks. Party like it's 2016, I guess. He owned the Yankees, 6 shutout innings with 9 strikeouts, 13 whiffs on 98 pitches. 9 strikeouts, the most in a start for Kyle Hendricks since September 18th of 2020. So I don't really think this matters much for fantasy, Chris, but I mean, the Yankees are just in a rut right now.
They're just, the Yankees are cold right now, and Kyle Hendricks caught them at a good time. Aaron Judge is really slumping. I don't expect that to continue, but they're good for Kyle Hendricks. He did it. I have no interest in adding Kyle Hendricks.
Aaron Judge, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts in this game. 41% strikeout rate in June, leads all qualified hitters. The Yankees haven't scored in 29 innings, and they have lost 5 in a row. So, Bronx Bombers, who? What's going on here? What do we do with these pitchers, Chris? Jesus Luzardo, we thought he was back, and then he had another bad one, this time against the Marlins. 5+ innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. The whiffs were there, but struggled to throw strikes. 57% of his pitches for strikes, 4 walks, a season high here. He's just kind of going through it. He's nowhere close to a drop, but
I think he's just. I think he's just a start.
I get using him in a 2-start week this because I used him anywhere I had him, but I don't know. I might think twice about using him next week. I mean, come on, man. It's against the Marlins, you know?
Well, sure. 1 start ago, he had 12 strikeouts against the Cubs. I kind of just think you start Jesus Luzardo and you just hope he pulls out of this. I think the start to start upside is too high. And this was a bad start. It was nowhere near as concerning as the 2 bad starts prior. This, if not for the 2 bad starts, the really, really bad starts where he gave up 21 runs, we don't even think about this. We don't give this start a second thought.
Yeah.
It was bad, but it was a run of the mill bad start, not something that I'm I think dropping Jesus Luzardo would be a huge mistake.
I agree with that completely. I'm nowhere near that level. But at the Braves next week, I don't know. Their lineup hasn't been that great. They still have talented guys, but it's.
I'm starting him.
All right. What about Chris Bassett, who had a quality start here and, pretty solid start. I don't really, but I'm going to talk about him in a negative way basically here. Because if you think about the start that he got off to, now his last 11 starts for Bassett, 4.86 ERA and a 1.38 WHIP, under a strikeout per inning. Still doing a good job limiting walks, limiting hard contact, and getting ground balls. So I think he's kind of in that Jose Barrios range, Chris. But is he? He's not just like a must start every time out, right? It's kind of more based on matchup, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, the problem is I don't know if would you have said coming into this start, yeah, Arizona, good matchup, start Chris Bassett.
No,
I don't know how much the matchup matters. And the other problem with Chris Bassett is even when things are going well right now, it's a lot of base runners. It's been a 130 whip all season, 138 over the last 11 starts. That makes it tough. I think he's probably just a matchups play, probably starting him more than not, but certainly not a must start guy. And
is he a definite hold? He's 96% rostered.
Who's out there?
Yeah.
I think I'd rather take the flyer on Jacob Mrozierowski, but you missed the boat on that one already. I don't know if anybody else is out there. There might be someone in the in a handful of leagues, but there's nobody obvious coming to mind to drop Chris Bassett for. But that's not to say I'm opposed to dropping Chris Bassett.
Mm-hmm. What about Matthew Liberatore, who bounced back with a quality start against the White Sox? 6 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts, 0 walks, but he had just 4 swinging strikes on 86 pitches in this one. He had allowed 11 hard hits, 95.7 average exit velocity. So feels pretty fortunate to come away with a quality start here. And his previous 3 starts before this one, it was an ERA over 10, a 193 whip. Just kind of feels like he's hitting a wall here, Chris.
Yeah.
What are we doing with Matthew Liberatore?
I'm holding him in a head-to-head points league because he's a SPARP.
Yeah.
I think in Roto, I'm totally fine looking for something else more interesting. I don't know what that is right now, but I don't think I think he's someone you can be open to dropping.
What about Shane Smith, who had a clunker on the other side, 4 1/3 innings, 6 runs, 5 of those earned, 3 walks to 2 strikeouts. And actually, this was his first time allowing more than 3 earned runs all season for Shane Smith. Overall, it's still a 2.85 ERA, a 122 whip, but 2 of his last 4 starts have been pretty rough. 79% rostered, also a SPARP. So is this just a hold in a points league? What do we do in category leagues?
Yeah, holding points. I wish Scott was on. I know he's been more impressed by Shane Smith.
The Arsenal still looks pretty interesting to me overall.
I think he's interesting. I don't think he's nearly as good as his ERA. And
that I agree with. I think he's more like a kind of like a 3.5 to 3.7 ERA guy.
Yeah, I would say closer to 4 even. And the part of the problem is he's just continued to struggle holding his velocity deep into starts. He'll start out 96, 97, and by the 4th, 5th, 6th inning, when he gets to the 6th inning, it's more like 93, 94, 95. He's got good extension. The overall arsenal, like you said, looks pretty good, but I don't know if it's all there yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has at least 4 pitches that look good to pretty good. He gets whiffs on his fastball, 25% whiff rate on that pitch. The changeup and curveball have whiff rates over 35%. So I definitely think the White Sox found something here with Shane Smith. I also don't think he threw many innings last season in the minors. So he's another one that maybe as the season goes on, we kind of see a little bit of fatigue. So 94 1/3 innings. So he's up to 72 2/3. Once we get up over 100, maybe we start to see a little bit more fatigue here. Maybe some shorter starts from Shane Smith as well. What do we do with Jack Leiter, who had a good matchup here against the Royals, and he crashed and burned? 5 2/3, 8 hits, 6 runs allowed, 3 homers allowed in this one, 12 hard hits, 95.4 average exit velocity, a 4.40 ERA, a 129 whip. He's kind of been able to like fake his way through it, Chris. Like there have been some good outcome starts here.
Yeah.
But the walks are trending up. The strikeouts are down. I think Jack Leiter's a drop.
I have no idea why he is 83% rostered. That doesn't make any sense for me.
I think it's name value, honestly.
Yeah, he showed some interesting stuff early on. I still think there are skills here that are worth chasing, but he has not shown nearly enough this season to be 83% rostered. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, out of all the names we just talked about, I think he's probably the most droppable.
Yes, I think Jack Leiter should be 35% rostered at best.
All right, Chris, have you thought about any of these things? I have 5 little topics here that we're going to quickly run through. Pete Crow Armstrong did it again. 1 for 2 with a walk and his 19th home run, a bomb. 452 feet, hit off the scoreboard in right field, and actually came against a lefty as well. He entered Tuesday as the 3rd overall player in Roto, the 4th best hitter in head-to-head points. Still lots of season left, but I'm crazy. I've at least kind of thought about it. He's kind of tracking towards being a 1st or 2nd round pick for fantasy next season, right?
I mean, look, as that. Sorry, I just caught myself. You know how we all have like our verbal crutches that I mean, look, I think I've said it like 6 times today. I'm going to try to not say it again. Pete Crow Armstrong, I have been very skeptical of what he's done this season, and I don't think he's nearly as good as he has been so far. I don't think he's a top 5 player in fantasy, but
you just earned at least 5 mentions from Cubs fans.
Yeah, that's fine. Nobody really yells at me on Blue Sky. It's nice. I have Pete Crow Armstrong at 40 in my overall rankings right now. So that's not that far from being a 2nd round pick. And like in the trade values chart that's probably going up tomorrow, I have him 1 spot behind Wyatt Langford. I have him 5 spots behind Brent Rooker, 7 spots behind Jarren Duran. That's basically a coin flip across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to take him over any of those guys, I have no problem with that. It gets a little more confusing when you have like Jackson Merrill, who had a full season that was really, really good. Although Pete Crow Armstrong's been better this season than Merrill was last season. I don't know if maybe Merrill had a 3-month stretch that was as good. If it's possible, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't. Pete Crow Armstrong already is not far off from being at that point anyway. So yeah, I think it's absolutely worth having the discussion.
I have him as my 14th ranked outfielder right now. I have him behind Jazz, behind Jarren Duran. I think I'm going to move PCA above both of those guys. Duran has been fine this season. He hasn't lived up to what he did last year, or I think what we were expecting. Then you get into Churio and O'Neal Cruz and James Wood, and there's an argument for it. I don't think I'm ready to move him ahead of those guys, but yeah, I think PCA is bordering on a top 12 outfielder right now. And look, the longer he does it, the more we have to buy in, and we'll have discussions about what that's going to look like for next season.
I mean, look, Jesus, I did it again. He's 17 in my outfield rankings. It's a little lower than it would have been last week because Kyle Schwarber's outfield eligible now.
Oh yeah,
he's not far from being top 12.
Yeah,
I have no problem with that. Like I don't think he's this good, but I'm not going to just keep being stubborn for the sake of being stubborn either. I'm willing to have that conversation. If you want me to say he's definitely a 2nd round pick next year right now, I'm not going to. Because there's
so much season left.
There's 90 games left.
Yeah. And look, if he does this for the rest of the season, then he's a 1st round pick.
Yeah, if he does this,
So, yeah, there's still a lot that can happen, but it's tracking that way right now. Speaking of tracking, Cal Raleigh continues his insane season. 3 for 6 with a sock and a shoe, including 6 RBI. He's up to 27 homers and 8 steals. It is June 18th. And I think we are tracking towards one of maybe the best fantasy season we have ever seen from a catcher here.
Yeah. If he keeps anything, I mean, the last calendar year is something like 49 homers and 15 steals.
Jeez.
Already, you're talking about one of the best stretches by a catcher of all time. Like you have Mike Piazza hitting 360 one year, and Joe Torre hit 360 one year, and Roy Campanella had a 40 homer. There's been some pretty good seasons out there by catchers, but if Cal Raleigh actually has a 40 homer, 15 steal season like he's on pace for, yeah, you're on the short list of best seasons ever by a catcher in fantasy. So I don't know. I don't think he's this good, but it's been going on for a really long time now.
Let's talk about Andy Pages. Breakout kind of looks like it's for real. 4 for 4 with a double dong, 3 runs, 3 RBI, and he is now up to a 293 batting average with 15 homers, 49 RBI, 6 steals, and an 845 OPS. He has lowered the strikeout rate this season. He's down to 18%. Andy Pages is someone who had legitimate prospect pedigree. The expected stats continue to creep up. You know, Chris, when this hot stretch started, the StatCast data did not back it up. And so I heard what you were saying, and I was a little bit skeptical as well. Expected stats are there now. They look great. So I think he entered today as a top 30 player in Roto. I'm not ready to say he's that level of breakout. You know, he's a top 30 player rest of season, but I mean, he's at least a top 36 outfielder, right? And like a top 150 player, something like that, I would imagine.
I have been very skeptical of Pages, but he turned the expected stats around really quickly, way quicker than I expected. That was, like you said, the expected stats were not backing up the actual production for a long time. And all of a sudden it's a 344 xWOBA and a 348 WOBA coming into today's game. Strikeout rate's way down. I believe he pulls the ball a lot. Yeah. Pulls the ball in the air a decent amount. So I'm significantly less skeptical today than I was 2 weeks ago, and certainly less so than a month ago. I don't know if top 36 is something I'm willing to do yet, but top 50
in the outfield, by the way.
Yeah. Outfield. That's a conversation worth having. Sure.
Yeah. I already have him at 46 in the outfield. And if I'm just eyeballing it, yeah, I mean, right around the back end of the top 36, I have Arozarena, Ian Happ, Brian Reynolds, Michael Garcia, Tommy Edman. I think Pages is in that mix, man.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it, and like Jung-Hoo Lee,
who has slowed down quite a bit.
He's slowed down quite a bit, yeah.
I would put Pages ahead of him. And I have Jung-Hoo Lee at 38, so.
Brenton Doyle, he's been bad all season, but the quality, the expected stats are much better. He still plays at Coors Field. We've seen a full elite outfield season from him.
I would take Pages ahead of him.
Tyler Soderstrom has slowed down. Michael Garcia has still been pretty good.
Yeah. Right around that range, though. I think that's the right range.
Yeah, I think that's the right range. So it's like 150-ish overall.
30 to 36 in the outfield ranks, something like that.
Yeah, it's more like 44 for me looking at it, but I think it's sort of splitting hairs.
Couple others here. Vlad Jr. hit a mammoth home run, 3 for 4 with his 9th homer, 112.1 exit velocity, 448 feet, his first home run since May 29th. And he's just been a letdown thus far. I'm always hesitant to kind of like write Vlad off, because we saw from the middle of June on last year, he just took off and had an amazing season. So he's capable of doing that again. It's frustrating that he goes through these stretches when we know what he's capable of, Chris?
100%. I don't know, we can say, oh, just elevate the ball, but clearly it's not that easy. And it's basically 6 full seasons worth of plate appearances at this point. He's up to 3,800. Yeah, that's about 6 full seasons. And 1 elite season, 4 months of elite production in 2024. And then other than that, it's been right around a high 700s, low 800s OPS every other stretch of his career.
And he's at an 814 OPS right now.
Yeah, it's frustrating because the power especially should be much better. And this is another guy who the expected WOBA right now for Vlad is what it was last year. Now, we talked on yesterday's podcast. Take that with a grain of salt. The ball's not traveling as far, and they haven't updated the expected stats formula yet. Even so, I think he's been better than a 350 WOBA. But he's also underperformed his expected WOBA more often than not in his career. And so if just eyeballing it, if it's a 370 expected WOBA is what he actually should have, and he has a 349 actual mark now, maybe he's not that far off and he's just bound to frustrate us. I don't know.
Entering Tuesday, Vlad Jr. was on pace for 18 homers and 71 RBI. I mean,
yeah,
he was a borderline first-round pick. It's not enough. Marcell Ozuna, 2 for 4 with a clutch bases clearing double here on Monday, and we learned about that hip issue on June 2nd, and it's been a rough month so far. 182 batting average, 2 homers, 573 OPS so far here in June. I don't really think there's anything we can do, right, Chris? I mean, I think it's just a hold. Maybe, do you think about benching Ozuna while he's dealing with this hip thing?
No, I don't know. I'm thinking I have one league where I have Ozuna as my DH, and I think the only hitter on my bench in that league is Ozzy Albies. Well, I'm not benching Ozuna for Ozzy Albies. It's not like he's been much better. So how many leagues do you realistically have a better DH than Marcell Ozuna, even if you think he is a lesser hitter than he has been in previous years? I'm going to guess not that many do. Sure, you can bench him, but what if he goes out and has 3 home runs that week, which he's absolutely capable of? I don't really think about it that way. I tend to just start my guys like Marcell Ozuna,
Fair enough. Let's get into the leftovers here, and 2 names that you might want to try and buy on while you still can. Jordan Westburg, he's been doing his thing since returning. He in 7 games since coming back, he's hitting 385 with 3 home runs and a 1275 OPS. But the overall numbers are still lagging. So I think there's still a buy window here on Jordan Westburg. And then a big game for Sal Perez, who went 3 for 4 with a double dong, having a big June so far, but another one where the overall numbers are still lagging. People who are paying attention, they might realize, all right, these guys have already kind of they're coming around. It's already starting up. They might not want to sell. But if someone just looks at the overall numbers on either one, Chris, I would still be looking to buy Jordan Westburg or Sal Perez.
Yeah, I'm obviously, I think, more concerned about Perez than Westburg just because he's 35 years old and he's a catcher. And this is the kind of profile where when the end comes, it will probably come really quickly. He's still hitting the ball hard. There's not really anything in the underlying numbers that you can point to that suggests that Salvador Perez won't be an impact hitter moving forward. So I'm absolutely buying. I'm buying even harder on Jordan Westburg if there's an opportunity, because he's been awesome since coming off the IL, and I expect him to be great moving forward. I haven't moved Sal Perez outside of my top 10 catchers, I don't think. And I don't think I've moved him really. I think he's still like a top 8 guy at the position. So I'm still mostly bought in on Sal Perez. I haven't really changed my view on him that much.
You have him at 8, and Scott, I have him at 6. So
okay. There you go. I hate Sal Perez, I guess.
A couple other hitting leftovers. Trey Turner did it again, back-to-back games with a home run. He is having a big June as well. Riley Green, 2 for 4 with his 15th home run and 51 RBI, tied for 5th most among outfield-eligible players in fantasy. Brendan Donovan, a big game, which is nice to see after the recent injury scare. 4 for 5 with a double and 2 runs. He's now leading off for the Cardinals with Lars Nootbaar slumping. He's batting 7th. Seiya Suzuki continues his huge season, 1 for 4 with his 18th home run. 3 more RBI brings him to 61. That is second behind only Pete Alonso.
Pretty good.
Juan Soto, 2 for 3 with a walk and his 14th home run. His June has just been bananas. It's a 1222 OPS with 5 home runs so far. Chris, anything to add on those names?
The only thing I want to add, one, Brendan Donovan just, it feels like he should either hit for a little more power or steal bases, right? Like the whole profile would be so much more interesting if it wasn't just batting average and kind of nothing else.
He's kind of doing his best Luis Arraez impression this season.
Yeah, I don't think his strikeout rate's quite that low. But he's hitting 323, and at least when last I checked, the expected stats were very good for Brendan Donovan. But it's just that's kind of all it is.
Yeah. It's a 14% K rate and a 305 XBA.
Yeah. So I do think there's a sell window here just because it's such a one-dimensional profile, and that one dimension is probably not as good as it's been so far, but he's fine. And then I do just want to, did you see Juan Soto get thrown out at first base on the Ronald Acuna?
Yeah, that was a sick catch, by the way.
It kind of felt like Ronald Acuna was deking him. I don't know if you watch it, it kind of felt like he was like playing it as if he didn't know where the ball was.
Soto
wasn't going to
like
be able to catch it.
He was yelling at somebody when he.
Yeah, he didn't seem to think that Acuna caught it. It was a great play by Acuna. I don't know if that's actually what happened, but that was the first thing I thought was he was making it seem like he wasn't going to be able to catch it in order to double Soto off. That was fun.
Some pitching leftovers. Brian Wu was awesome up against the Red Sox. 7 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts here, 16 whiffs on 86 pitches. And he has gone 6+ innings in all 14 starts this season. Seth Lugo, a great outing at the Rangers, 6 innings, 1 run with a season high 9 strikeouts. And David Peterson turned in another quality start, 7 innings, 3 runs with 3 strikeouts. He has allowed 3 earned runs or fewer in all 14 starts, 2 earned runs or fewer in 11 of those. And he has gone 7+ innings in 4 of his last 5. Anything to add on Peterson, Lugo, and Brian Wu?
Still think Peterson's a sell high candidate. Really think Seth Lugo's a sell high candidate, but I've been saying that for a year and a half, and he keeps making me look dumb. So if you don't want to listen to me about that, I think that is perfectly reasonable because I've been very wrong about Seth Lugo for 15 months, and what's to say that's going to stop anytime soon? I don't know. But, I mean, it's even more extreme than it was last season. Last season, he was outperforming his expected stats, but the expected stats were pretty good. Seth Lugo's peripherals right now are bad. 453 FIP, 404 xFIP, 534 xERA. Like, that all suggests that Seth Lugo just hasn't pitched well, and yet the ERA is 305, the WHIP is 1.11. He's pitching deep into games. I don't know. I can't make sense of it. There might just be something there that I just can't make sense of. I don't know. Maybe I should just never have an opinion about Seth Lugo again. I genuinely have no idea what to make of that. Everything about what we typically view pitching value through in 2025 says he's bad right now, and the results don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Entering the start was a 534 xERA, like,
yeah,
it's 7.2% swinging strike rate. I mean, these are just objectively very bad marks for any pitcher, but Seth Lugo just continues to do his thing in spite of that. A couple other pitching leftovers. Casey Mize, a quality start against the Pirates, 6 innings, 3 runs, 2 earned with 4 strikeouts to 0 walks. Zach Littell, a quality start against the Orioles, 6 innings, 3 runs with 3 strikeouts, and he has gone 6+ innings in 12 of 15 starts. That is Zach Littell's standout skill, is pretty much just going deep into starts. And Spencer Schwellenbach, a little more human against the Mets, 7 innings, 4 runs, 2 homers allowed, still had 8 strikeouts and 22 whiffs on 97 pitches. Gave up 10 hard hits in the start. So, there's a little bit of give and take here with Spencer Schwellenbach. He has 8+ strikeouts in 4 of his last 5. He's gone 7+ in 5 of his last 7. But yeah, look, he's generating whiffs with the best of them, Chris. Mm-hmm. He also pitches in the zone so much. He has the 6th highest zone percentage that he's just going to be prone to getting hit and giving up home runs. It's just going to, I think it's going to continue to happen unless he just nibbles or throws pitches out of the zone more often.
It reminds me a little of early career Aaron Nola.
I thought you were going to say Shane Bieber.
Sure, Shane Bieber, a little bit of that. It's a much wider arsenal than Bieber's. wider are some of the Nolas as well. But I think on the whole, he's pitching right to around what he should be. I think the recent uptick in strikeouts makes me think, okay, the 8.6 K per nine, you bump that to 9. Yeah, it's an even strikeout per inning at least moving forward. I think that's pretty reasonable. Low 3s ERA, excellent whip. There will just be some headaches along the way. And I think that might just be the case for Spencer Schwellenbach. But the thing with him is the stuff has taken a jump, both from last season and then in season. His fastball velocity is he's sitting like 97 now. And so you can live in the zone that often if you're going to sit 97 instead of 95 or 96. So that's a big deal. And I think you just mostly stop worrying about Schwellenbach. He's an ace.
Mm-hmm. I did want to, because you mentioned the stuff is up. I just wanted to quickly look at his stuff plus metric. 7th among qualified starters this season. Spencer Schwellenbach, 110 stuff plus.
It's pretty good.
Obviously, his location plus is great because he doesn't walk anybody. He's pretty good at commanding his pitches. If you look at pitching plus, which kind of combines both stuff plus and location plus, Spencer Schwellenbach is 4th behind only Skubal, DeGrom, and Zach Wheeler this season.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good indeed. Call to the bullpen for the D-backs. Shelby Miller got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He gave up back-to-back homers, took his 4th blown save and 2nd loss of the season. For the Reds, Emilio Pagan got the 9th with a 1-run lead. He walked 2, but picked up his 17th save. For the Cubs, Daniel Palencia got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He allowed a hit, but picked up his 7th save. And that Ryan Presley save from last week kind of looks like the outlier. I still just think Palencia is the guy.
The only thing I will say is I think Porter Hodge is about to start a rehab assignment. So that's something to keep an eye on.
For the Guardians, Emmanuel Clase got the 9th with a 1-run lead. He allowed 3 base runners, but did pick up his 15th save. And for the Dodgers, Tanner Scott got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead and picked up his 14th save of the season. To stream or not to stream on Wednesday, we have Ryan Yarbrough against the Angels, Andrew Heaney at the Tigers, Mitchell Parker facing the Rockies, Eduardo Rodriguez at the Blue Jays, Verlander making his return against the Guardians, Sheehan's season debut against the Padres.
I don't love it.
Severino against the Astros.
Heaney's been good. Yarbrough, I could see a good start, but I don't want to trust it. I think Parker and Andrew Heaney are probably the best options here.
Yeah, I did want to just quickly look up how the Blue Jays have been against lefties this season, and they are... I can't find them. Let's see. Toronto. They are 6th in WOBA against lefties. All right, so we're not going to try to do the Eduardo.
Yeah, they got a lot of platoon guys there. So
yeah. And then on Thursday, we have Nick Martinez is facing the Twins. Chris Paddock is at the Reds. Eric Fetty is at the White Sox. Adrian Hauser gets the Cardinals. Cade Horton faces the Brewers. Edward Cabrera, against the Phillies. Charlie Morton at Tampa Bay. Jacob Lopez gets the Astros. What do you think?
Didn't Cade Horton have a good start against the Brewers? No, he has not faced the Brewers yet.
Cade Horton has been solid.
He's been okay. Yeah, not terribly impressive.
I think I would put Fetty at the top of the list against the White Sox.
Yeah, against the White Sox, that's okay. Colton Gordon and Jacob Lopez against on opposite sides against each other are okay, but could go really wrong for both of them. Charlie Morton's been really good for like a month and a half now. It is at Tampa Bay, though. That could go south really quickly. I don't really love any of these options, but Fetty, Morton, Gordon are, if you need one, we got a couple of revenge games on the slate.
I think I would put Fetty and Cade Horton at the top of the list.
Sure, that's fine.
Nick Martinez maybe could give you a quality start against the Twins. Edward Cabrera's been pitching well, but Phillies.
It's been a really weird quick hook lately.
Yeah.
I think he hasn't gotten to 70 innings in either of his last 2 starts, or 70 pitches in either of his last 2 starts. So given the tough-ish matchup, I would prefer to go away from it, although I do think there is some some good stuff happening with Edward Cabrera. I hope he has a good start. I just don't know if I want to have him in my lineup.
Yeah. Put me down for Fetty, Kate Horton, and Nick Martinez there on Thursday.
That's fine. Yeah.
We're going to wrap there. For Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.